Hello everyone, sorry that I'm not there with you. I have a few things to do today again. But look, I'm here with you in spirit as we work on factorization together. So the notes should be on the OneNote, and this little video should be embedded on the side, so you'll be able to look at that, click on it, and you'll be on your way to listening to my dulcet tones as I walk you through these few examples. So let's have a look at some simple factorizations. Something like this you should be able to do without too much trouble at this point. But we're looking out for the common factors. So obviously this has a common factor, well, it has a factor of 3. This term here has a common factor of 3. So we're going to take it out. If you really wanted to be pedantic, we could write it like this. Yeah, that's interesting. 3 times 3. Now the common 3, which comes out the front, and inside the bracket we have x minus 3. It's the opposite of the distributive property. The next example over here with minus 2x minus 4, you can also have a common factor which is a negative. So just because it's a negative term, sometimes it's neater to do that, or it's an option that we need to consider if we're going to be simplifying more complex algebraic expressions. So I could think of this as minus 2 times x minus 2 times 2. Now if I take out the negative 2, I'm left with x plus 2. Now it's plus because if I was to work back the other way, minus 2 times positive 2, if I multiplied those, that would get me back to my original minus 4. So that's a little bit of simple factorizing. Okay, now that's 2.7 for those who want to do a bit of practice on that, but have a look through. Now I want to talk about factorizing in pairs. And an important thing about this is that you can have factors, algebraic factors, or factors which are binomial. Now, I've said this before, binomial simply means something that's like a plus b. X plus 1, for instance, is a binomial, right? So if we have a look at this example here, what's the common factor? Well, the common factor is in fact the x plus 1s. So this one becomes, I take out the x plus 1s. But so we just think of it as a single value, taking out that common factor. Now what's left? Well, this term here, the first term I had x multiplied by x plus 1, but I've divided out, I've factored out the x plus 1, so I'm simply left with x. Then the second term here, I had 2 times x plus 1. I've taken or factored out the x plus 1, so I'm just left with positive 2. So I have x plus 2. And there we have it. So that's kind of given. You've got the binomial factor written there. So you can simply take that one out, and you have x plus 1 is my common binomial factor. And what am I left with? When I've factored that out, I've got x plus 2. And so we have that there. Now, number 2, we have here 3x minus 6 plus x squared minus 2x. Now, we want to factorize this. We don't want to simplify. So I'm not going to collect like terms in this case. What I want to do is look at it, as the name suggests, in pairs. I want to look at the two sets and see what common factors there are, and then see what I can find about it. So the first two, 3x minus 6, there's a common factor of 3. Bracket, I'm left with x minus 2. All right, plus the next two, we've got x squared minus 2x. Well, there's a common factor. The highest common factor is x, bracket, x minus 2. Now you'll notice that we have this common factor of x minus 2. It's what we call a binomial factor. X minus 2 just means a number that's 2 less than x, whatever x is in this particular case. So we take out that x minus 2. Now this first set of bracket, I've got 3 times x minus 2. What am I left with if I factor out the x minus 2? Well, I'm just left with 3. The second term, I've got x times x minus 2. Well, if I factored out, I divided out the x minus 2, I'm simply left with x. So this becomes x minus 2, and just for neatness, there's a thing that I seem to like to have the x first, x plus 3. X minus 2, x plus 3 is what we end up with if we factorize it. Okay, same idea with this one. We're going to have a look. So we're not going to simplify it. Don't try to collect like terms. Well, there are no like terms in this anyway, so we can do that. So I'm going to look at it in pairs. And this is a good technique to keep in the back of your mind. It's not super common, but it is something that pops up. So the first two, I've got 5ab minus 3b. That's a b, by the way, in case you're wondering. We've got 5ab minus 3b. Well, b is the highest common factor, so I'm going to take out b, bracket, 5a minus 3, plus, what's the highest common factor of 10a minus 6? Highest common factor is 2, bracket, 5a minus 3. Now, again, you should notice that we have a common binomial factor. We've got 5a minus 3. I can factorize that. I'm going to take that out. We get bracket 5a minus 3. What am I left with? Well, the first term is b times 5a minus 3. The 5a minus 3 is now taken out, so I've got b. Second term, I've got 2 times 5a minus 3. It's going to be plus 2. And there we have it. So give it a go. 2.7, 2.8. I'm also going to do a next section on the notebook for you to have a look at. But this is the first little video you can look at. Thanks.